Hey.
How's it going?
I'm good. How are you? Welcome aboard.
Right.
Tristan, I presume?
Sorry?
Tristan.
Yes, you got it.
Nice
That's
to meet
me.
you, man. Welcome. I was just trying to understand where I should find you, but...
Yeah, no, I was in the alleyway.
Okay.
Just finished work, so...
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, we just finished unloading at this house over here, so...
Nice.
Yeah, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Really good. Really good.
Welcome for the end of your day.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I can't quite say the same myself yet. But
when did you start today?
Well, actually, I had a nice sleep in today, so I started about 10 o'clock-ish.
Nice.
I know.
That's nice to get a sleep in.
Well, yeah, I don't take them very often.
No? Yeah, me neither.
I work
usually up at 6.
Okay. What is it you do?
I work for a moving company.
Okay.
Yeah.
So very physically invested.
Yeah. So I've been doing that for about 12 years now, so quite a while.
12 years, you say? Holy crap. Okay.
Now I'm going to do a workout.
Seriously?
Yeah,
Oh my
seriously.
goodness, because it wasn't enough.
No, apparently.
That's amazing.
Yeah, everybody thinks I'm crazy, but
it sounds like you enjoy it, though.
I do. I love it, yeah.
You enjoy the workout.
Absolutely.
And you enjoy your job.
I do.
After 12 years.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
amazing.
Yeah.
What is it about your job that you enjoy the most?
I like, I'm always the team lead or the manager or whatever, so
Yeah.
I like being a leader. I like teaching people things.
Yeah.
I like, it's different stuff every day. You
Absolutely.
meet new people, you get to talk about stuff that's different. You learn a lot. You know, it's constantly evolving. It's not just as easy as everybody says, just pick something up and put it down. There's a lot to it, how to pack the truck tight and how to wrap it properly.
Yes.
So I just like the diversity and it's not a forever job, Eventually I'll go back to management and stuff and get back into that. But I don't know.
And get back to that, you said. I'll get
I used to manage a company I worked for before, and I kind of helped out managing this one right now.
Okay.
So but I do like being out on the job. So yeah, so eventually.
Hands-on kind of.
Yeah, big time. Yeah. So.
In your perspective, what makes a really good mover? What makes a successful
honestly,
mover? Yes.
It's super simple.
Yeah.
Willing to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Good attitude.
Yeah.
And as long as you, and honestly, like, sometimes I'll mention this, but it's not necessarily must, but coordination, obviously.
Coordination.
Yeah, like you don't have to sit here and lift every heavy piece. You can build up to that. You don't have to start from scratch.
Right.
Just like get into like really heavy things. So
what you were saying there, in essence, that makes a really good, successful mover, is more on the soft skills elements.
Yeah.
Where you're saying, hey, team player, for lack of a better word.
Well, when I used to manage the last company, I would fire guys because they didn't get along with people. I'm like, yeah, you might be better than him, but his attitude's good. He presents himself well, and he gets along with everybody. I hate conflict, so I'm not into conflict. If people are gonna have conflict, then I'm just like, it's you live the life the way you want to, but we don't need you around.
So I don't disagree with you, and I think I like your answer. I'm just trying to now push back against, I guess, what most would think along the lines of, what about the skill set that's necessary for getting the job done? Is that the bottom line?
That's like I said, the willingness to learn. So if they're open to learning and and they got to understand that it's not one way to do something. There's multiple ways to wrap a furniture. There's multiple ways to back a truck. There's multiple ways to do things. So you just always got to be open to new ideas and willing to learn, and that's really all you need.
Yeah.
If there's a lot of people, I've met people who have had 50 years experience. Yeah. And they're like, it's this way or the highway. And I'm like, I'm not into that. That's a very old mentality.
Yeah.
So I'm like super open into everything. So.
Earlier, and the reason I'm just kind of centering on this one here,
of course,
in my job as an Uber driver, I like presenting a lot. I prepare a lot of content online for other potential drivers, just to help them along the way. Just saying, here's what I found really works well.
Oh, that's fun.
Here's what. But today I did a video, and the question I asked was, what makes for an amazing Uber driver?
Right.
Is it all these factors that I include as saying, nice clean vehicle, nice smell, amenities? Is it like just a whole bunch of X, Y, Z factors? At the very end of it, as I was asking all these things, my conclusion was actually it's someone who's able to treat his fellow human being with respect and honor. That's the very basic heart of why. I mean, you can do all these other things and they're helpful, but at the very heart of it, if you're missing that component,
it's very customer service oriented.
I think so. And I wonder if it doesn't carry on across all jobs that way, in a way which almost defies that concept of what could be? Is it more so the skill set that a person brings to the job, or is it something else, which is this element that you and I are talking about, and saying how you actually connect with other human beings in the midst of the work you're doing? Pursuing excellence for sure, but also being aware of the dynamics of those that you're interacting with. And
for Uber drivers, I find most of the time it's for sure like personality, like you said, and all that kind of stuff. But for me, I feel the same way. Like for me, customer service is huge because like most people think a mover's gonna show up, he's gonna be big, overweight, grumpy, grunty, and all this. So when we show up, we're young, we're running, we're like doing things, we're happy, we're laughing. People like yesterday, the client was like, I've moved 50 times and you guys were easily my best movers. Like you guys were so happy, you're having fun, you're laughing, great conversationalists and all this stuff.
Absolutely.
But there are people like, for example, who take Ubers and cabs and stuff, like who prefer not to talk as well. I've met these people who are like, oh, the guy talked my ear off, and I'm opposite. I like talking. I love people. You know, so
and part of that element that I usually say is knowing how to read the social cues that aren't spoken usually. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah, if someone sits there, pulls their phone out right away, or they start just looking at, you know what I mean? Like, those are for sure tells.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's cool. I respect that you try to look into that. It's fun. I'm super intrigued in like learning stuff like that as well.
Indeed.
That's smart.
Well, I think that's the point in which there's a lot more comparisons. So, for example, let's say I am talking. So, my field of study academically was English, philosophy. Really enjoy those elements. I enjoy so many others. There's other ones I'm so not interested in, like economics or sciences, or like there's certain things on the way where I'm like, I have no frame of reference in which I would be compelled to follow that pathway you just chose. And so what could be the conclusion is, I guess we have nothing to talk about, but I disagree with that, where it's more like, actually you're a fellow human being who has a lot of similarities to me, even though our interests may be in divergent areas, which is beautiful, right? I'm like, what is it that you see so compelling about this thing that I thought was just so atrocious? And then hearing how they got to their destination and why it means a lot to them. I'm like, I have a lot more awareness about you now, and even as I was hearing about all those things that make you tick, I may not have the same resonance with what you're doing, but what I do have resonance with is that sense of being alive that you felt when you discovered your niche, for example, or the whole process of uncertainty as you're walking through and saying, wait, where's this going to lead? There's so many things I think that bind us in our commonality as human beings, especially by way of our experiences, that gives us that opportunity to say, actually, there's a lot more that we are similar than dissimilar, and I find that really noteworthy to highlight, especially because it's at that point that we are able to resonate a lot more in our forging towards something together, and it's that element of saying it never was about what you knew or how you're able to accomplish it. Is it possible that a superstar athletically could sit down with the bum on the street and they have so much to connect on that premise?
Because our business mainly deals with extremely high-end people, and I'm a mover, you know what I mean? And we'll sit there and have conversations all day long, and then we'll, again, like you said, we might not have the same thing, we might have different backgrounds, interests, and all these things, but we'll still connect in certain ways, right? So there's always good ways to find that. So.
Absolutely,
Yeah, no, I agree with you for sure.
Cool.
What do you do? Do you do this full time, or are you going to school?
This is my full-time job.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, I thought you were maybe taking like a psychology course or something.
No, my academic career, lengthy as it was, has come and gone, and it was funny actually, Tristan. I remember when I was in the midst of it, hearing my friends who were on the other side saying, "Oh, I miss school," and I made a promise to them saying, "I'm never going to say that." Now, it's not that I don't enjoy learning. I love learning. I love indulging. Just that setting, even though it was extremely lengthy, just wasn't my jam, And
that's fair. No, I get it. There's a lot of people that have spent, like I've known so many people who have these crazy degrees in all these things, and they're like, you know what? I don't even want to use it. Like they did it. And they're like, I have no interest in it. I'm like, well, you just wasted all that money. But it's like, it's crazy how many people assume you need to go get extra degrees and all this stuff to get successful and all this and everything. But that doesn't really bring the happiness in the end, right?
And that's the thing, is how do you actually commit yourself to something that isn't for the sake of prestige, but more so for the sake of purpose and conviction. So there's a compelling force that drives you to say, no, this is why I'm investing myself in this way. I guess I've just worked in enough jobs along the way that I've experienced good people who are who are almost like shriveling away because of that lack of purpose that drives them to wake up and do what they're doing.
Yeah.
And even though they may be making a good income, the investments is greater in an area that they are not happy about, and their payoff is very small in trying to enjoy what they're trying to work towards, right? And that's a really unhappy outcome, it seems, in my estimation.
Absolutely.
And so I said, no, I don't want to follow that sequence that has been modeled out.
Yeah, fair. That's smart.
What could be?
I respect that.
Yeah. So I was very picky for that reason. I discovered that from all my schooling. I was like, okay, I'm picky, and I'm happy that I'm picky, but that's a surprise.
Yeah.
That was a surprise.
Picky is not a downfall. It's not
No.
I think it's a good thing to have.
Well, it reminds me of when I walk, for example, into an electronics store, and I have a very specific, this is what I need, whatever it is to do. Do you have something that does this niche? Not like all these other things, just this. And that's when I'm having to appropriate my expectations.
Yeah.
But no, I would say even as I used to be a codependent for a very long time. People pleaser. Oh my goodness.
Same.
I knocked that out of the park.
I found that very toxic after realizing being codependent was not good for me mentally, and just trailed into every other aspect of my life. Yeah, when I was younger, I was like, oh yeah, you want to be dependent on people and all this, but what I was misinterpreting was codependency and dependency. So like you can be independent and still depend on people, whereas codependency, you're just like really not depending on yourself anymore. And that's where I found
basically living on other people's agenda